Hey guys, what's going on? This is Adam Everett Miller with AETuts.com. And today I was working on a project and it has kind of a childlike, cartoony, almost like crayon painted on sort of a look to it. And so initially I just had it on a plain white background, but I wanted to make it look more like it was on paper. And I've seen this effect before, but I wanted to kind of create something that made it look like, okay, this is really drawing on a piece of paper. So I created this looping kind of paper texture background, and then I thought, you know what, this is something that maybe somebody else could figure out how to make, but I'm going to show you how to make it just really, really quick in case you don't know how. So let's begin. Here we go. Let's go ahead and create a new comp, and 1280 by 720 is fine. And you're going to have to find out some paper textures first. So if you just want to Google image it or do whatever, I mean, in all reality, you can just crumple up a piece of paper and scan it if you need to, but I just found some from Google Images. Technically, I could get in trouble because they don't belong to me, but I don't think they're going to catch me because they're just paper textures and they're not that distinguishable. But I don't condone that because that's not my official platform to whatever. Okay, so I have these three textures, pretty basic, and as you can see, obviously, it would not be that difficult to just make one on your own. So let's just drag these into a new comp. And you can see that paper 1 is a little bit smaller, so let's go ahead and scale that up. And then on paper 2, let's just scale all these so that they're about the same size. And then we'll take the position, and what's cool about this is since it's like kind of this portrait mode, we can essentially, from just these 3 textures, actually make 6 textures. So we'll just duplicate them and then bring them down there, and then the rest we'll bring up to that half. So now just using the 2 different sections of the same image, we now have 6 textures. Pretty convenient. Next thing we're going to want to do is just select all these, and we will drag them. Well, actually, let's just page down 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 times, and then we'll just hit shift and it'll lock right into place there. So now we have pretty small little layers. I'm just going to trim this up here a little bit. I'm just going to bring it to 1 second, hit N, right click, trim. Just because I have limited space to work with since we're recording a tutorial. Okay, so it's on there for just maybe 4 frames. Now what I'm going to want to do is right click and go to Keyframe Assistant and Sequence Layers. I don't want to overlap them because then I want to keep them all for for the duration of the frames allotted. So let's just take a look at this and see how this looks. Hitting N, let's just go through, and timing wise that's pretty good. Each texture is on there long enough that you can see that it's a texture. It's not just flying through, but at the same time, it's not just like holding the shot for a long time. It's moving along pretty decent. So next thing we want to do is, since we did get these different textures from different sources, we want to kind of blend them together, so that, not blend them, but make them look all pretty uniform. So next step we'll do is right click and add a new, it's off screen there, but adjustment layer. And then we can just go ahead and go to Effect. It'd be color correction and tint. I think it's off screen, but tint, and that will just desaturate it. So now there's not a crazy color difference from one image to the next. And you can kind of see that it's a little yellower in this one, and then I tint it. It's just going to desaturate everything. And then the next thing I would like to do is, I could put a white solid behind all of them, but what I'll just do is I'll just create a new solid. I'll make it white. And instead of lowering the opacity of each layer, I'll just take this white solid and I'll just lower the opacity of it to maybe like 50%. And what that's going to do is just kind of mute the whole effect. So now those little lines, all the little crinkle marks are not as pronounced. It should just be a little bit easier to swallow, so it's not distractingly crumply. So now that we have that, you would think that, okay, we can just now copy these layers and then repaste them and repaste them and repaste them until we have a long stair step all the way down. And that totally would work, but we're just going to apply a quick expression. It's not complicated at all. It's about the next easiest thing after wiggle. Let's go ahead and we have that to the end. Let's trim this up. So we'll right click and trim. So all the way to the end there. Let's go ahead and take that comp 1 and we will drag that into a new composition. We're going to want to make it a little longer, so composition settings. Let's go ahead and just make it maybe like 20 seconds long. And all right, so you can see it's pretty small since it's only like, I don't know what it was, like 10, yeah, like yeah, not very long at all, like 30 frames. And so what we're going to want to do is apply. I could just copy and paste this as well and stair step that, but essentially what we're going to do is we're going to right click time and then enable time remapping, and that sets a keyframe at the beginning of the comp and at the end of the comp. And we want for just this one layer to loop from beginning to end to beginning to end to beginning to end. So let's go to the very last frame, and since it creates one like almost right after the frame, or when there isn't anything there, technically, like, yeah, that is the end, but I don't know, it doesn't recognize it. So let's just back up one frame, we'll create another keyframe, and then we'll delete the very last one because we want it to loop and never show any background. From there, we'll simply alt click or option click, and a lot of times people type in expressions and then they'll just start typing it, and it's okay, you gotta pause the video and go apply it to your own project, and then go back to the video. And when you don't have to do that and you don't really have to understand it, it's not a big deal. So we can just go to this little arrow, and it has a lot of preset expressions. We'll go down, it's off screen right now, but go down to property, and then we'll just go to loop out cycle. Don't worry about this other type cycle, just loop out. I'm sorry, don't worry about the number of keyframes. That has to do with, I was just reading about this in that expressions book by Marcus Gould, and there is some cool stuff here, but it totally doesn't matter for this. So now that we have that, we can just drag out our layer all the way to the end, and it's just going to continue to cycle along through those. And if you just hit 0, you can see what it looks like. It's just it's pretty clean background. The major reason I'm even sharing this as a quick tip is not to like teach you the loop out expression or anything. I mean, a lot of this stuff is common knowledge, but the biggest thing I was just thinking is, hey, you know, instead of just applying a ramp to your next composition or a vignette, you can maybe try this on for size, and especially if you're doing something that is a little bit more cartoony in nature, or maybe has a little bit more of a hand-drawn look. You know, you can just apply this effect as a background, and stylistically, it might just kind of help push your video forward. So, you know, that's it. Next time you need that, this is how to apply a really quick. I kind of explained through it, but you could do it probably in about a minute or less. Just rotating paper texture background. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.